If someone tells you they need to get a life, tell them to join us here at Road Gang Radio with Lindsay Lawler and Jimmy Mack. Hit those turbos, Madison with a T.
Whoa, I'm hitting those turbos. It's a me, Madison with a T, and I'm here with your hosts, Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler.
Lindsay, I'm going to say this really simple. Space camp is not just for kids.
It's dying to get out. How about that?
It is for kids of absolutely all ages. I know you have been looking forward to this. There is so much to dig into here, and I don't even know where to begin. He's been with the U.S. Space and Rocket Center since 2014. Before that, he was
She.
a she. I said he?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm looking at Dre. That always explains me, by the way. Before that, she was a newspaper reporter for many years. There's a strong connection to her former work. And by the way, telling the story is at the key of everything, by the way. I've always said, when in doubt, go to people who have journalism skills because they can observe the world. As you said, Lindsay, they can make it interesting that you woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across your head, found your way downstairs, and drank a cup. By the way, it's one of the greatest songs ever written. It's just about somebody waking up and being late for work. Yeah. So it's all possible. By the way, Patricia Ammons is a longtime communication professional in Huntsville, Alabama. She currently serves as a senior director of communications at the U.S. Space Camp and Rocket Center, home of Space Camp. Before joining the Rocket Center, as I said, she was a reporter for the Huntsville Times and AL.com. By the way, I know that beat. I lived in Tuscaloosa for a long time while I taught at the University of Alabama. It is our absolute pleasure to welcome Pat here this morning. Good morning, Senior Director of Public and Media Relations for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville. Hey, Pat, good morning.
Good morning.
Pat, I'm going to start here and tell you, first of all, when I saw you were coming on the show, I was very excited, for one, because I didn't realize not only that this existed, both Space Camp and the Rocket Center here, but that it existed so close to me. I'm in Franklin, Tennessee. I will be coming to see you very soon. I need to go to Space Camp as an adult. She means it. I mean it. I want to do this. I want to do it so bad. But let's start here because I don't think I would have said I want to do this so bad as soon as 5 years ago. It's been I've been very scared of the idea of space. Now I'm a very curious person. I'm very curious about the beyond, what's out there, the universe, the solar system. But I've been very scared of the idea of not having control of my breath or my atmosphere, and that's why when anyone would say, would you go to space, I'd say no. Now I'm like, okay, if something like this, if something like Space Camp, to be able to have that experience, to dive in, can you dive in there and say, is this a way to help maybe get people over their fear of what the beyond is, and like kind of the first step to that exploration?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the more knowledge you have, the more control you have. And so what we do, but you know what? It's also okay if you're fascinated in space and you don't want to go to space, because there's all kinds of roles in being part of space exploration. And that's one of the things that we teach our kids, who we are sort of raising up to the possibility of careers in the future that might connect a fascination with space with their skill sets. Maybe it's engineering and not being an astronaut. Maybe it's even being a communications person and not being an astronaut. But for those who want to be an astronaut, we help give them that sort of immersive experience where they get to sense what it would be like to actually be on a spacecraft. And we do the same thing for kids of all ages.
Yeah, let's talk about rocketcenter.com. I mean, let's just get right to the heart of it. And I always ask, this is kind of the overview question for any center like yourself. Kind of give us a sense of what the whole installation is like, the whole enchilada. Give us the 30,000-foot view of the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville.
Well, it's a big one. We have a large footprint. We are here on I-565. If your radio listeners know about that, that's a major spur that comes off of Interstate 65 that goes right by you. Lindsay and Franklin and on down here to Huntsville and the North Alabama area, we are just literally about an hour and 15 minutes from you. But you drive into Huntsville on the 565 spur, and you'll know where you are when you get to the Rocket Center, because we have a 363-foot tall Saturn V standing outside amongst other missiles and rockets from the American space program. And so you immediately know you are in a very out-of-this-world place. We have a full shuttle stack display, which shows you just the power and the majesty of the space shuttle program. Lasted 30 years. It helped us build the International Space Station, launch the Hubble Space Telescope, and numerous other accomplishments. And then we also have, inside our Saturn V hall, we have an actual Saturn V that was used for testing back during the 60s to help us know that we could really support a rocket that would take us all the way to the moon and get astronauts safely back. It's absolutely jaw-dropping. Amazing space where you can really explore the imagination, the brought to life in amazing accomplishments. It's a really extraordinary place.
It's funny too because listen, Pat, call me
Hold
crazy.
on one second there. I just want to kind of ask you as well, really quickly. I'm just so kind of in awe of what you guys have to do, because you're both playing an active role in the future of the program while also being curators and folks who are determined to make sure that the history of the program is in place too. How do you create that balance? And then Lindsay's got a question for you.
And that's a great question, and it's one that we strive very diligently to answer for all of our visitors here. We want them to understand that space exploration, and we get all the time, why Huntsville? Why Huntsville? Why is all this here in Huntsville? And it's because Huntsville is really at the absolute origins of the space program. The a rocket team came here, or it was actually a missile team that came here in 1950 when Huntsville was just about 14,000 people, just a small agricultural town. They came here to help build missiles for the Army, and that Army missile technology became kind of changed the trajectory of those vehicles. I mean, instead of going sideways with payloads that might have been a bomb or something else, we started tilting those vehicles upright and sending them on into space, and that all originated here in Huntsville. And so we played a critical role, but what we want people to understand is that we still play a critical role. This is the home of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. We are their official visitor center, and there's incredible work that's being done today to go back to space. And so we want people to understand that there is really important work being done today to give people an opportunity to participate in it, even if it's just as through their own personal interest and their own support, but also, like I said, really creating a platform for young people to understand the role that they could potentially play in the future.
We're talking with Pat Ammons of the Rockets. You can head to rocketcenter.com. Also, rocketcenter.com/spacecamp.
You had to get that in there. You had to get that in there, didn't you?
Yeah. Pat is the Senior Director of Public and Media Relations for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. What a cool job you have. Okay, Pat, I'm going to sound really woo-woo and silly, but I believe that we find things, we hear about things when we're supposed to. Like, I mean, I have driven that route. I've driven past that rocket outside many, many times, and many, many times as I'm going. I have friends that live further south of you guys. I've driven it and seen it. I don't know why it's never registered to me that it's something I could go and be a part of. Like, why I didn't be like, that's something I want to see and do. Now I 100% do and will. And I think that it's, obviously, these conversations are important to let our audience know what's happening. I'm sure there's a lot of truck drivers listening who pass it and obviously are on their way to work, but maybe now knowing about it will make the time. So I'm going to ask the simple question first, as our drivers are asking over in the comments. Is there truck parking at your facility or somewhere near they could go park their truck and head over to the Rocket Center?
Absolutely, 100%. We have bus and truck parking,
Wonderful.
so that is not a problem. And I think your truck driver listeners would be really fascinated by just the mechanics of these vehicles that we have. You know, they understand heavy loads. They understand the power that an engine has to be able to, haul a load here on Earth. Well, come look at what it takes to go to the moon and back, and just really revel in just understanding the sheer accomplishment of these vehicles that we have on display is something I think your audience would be really fascinated by. And we don't just sit here on Earth, we also can take you to space. We have an extraordinary planetarium here that can really take people into the cosmos from a comfortable seat, looking at a 270-foot dome when we take all live interactive programming that our staff develops using the latest images from the James Webb Space Telescope and other observatories, that we are able to understand better the worlds outside of us, and even our own world, from just looking back down. So it really is an opportunity to maybe pull off the road, take a nice break, learn some things, really be inspired by what we've achieved.
Jim, I'm being really serious here. I haven't been to the planetarium since I was a kid. I remember loving it as a kid. Why do we think we grew up and those things aren't available to adults, Jim? Like, why is it never dawning on me to go to the planetarium and the Space Center? My mind is sort of blown now, and I'm equal parts kidding and equal parts very serious.
It's funny, Pat, because it was actually the question I was going to set you up for. I want to let people know I've been to that planetarium, and guys, this ain't the Pink Floyd planetarium from the 1970s. No. This is a spectacular installation that really makes you feel at some point you stop thinking about the fact that you're in a planetarium and you just kind of go into space and with the flow with an amazing world you guys have kind of created. Everything is first rate. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like, we spared no expense, right? It really feels first rate. Correct, Pat?
Oh, absolutely. World class. Absolutely world class. 8K projection system that just is, the clarity is astonishing. And to see some of these images from the James Webb Space Telescope, and it is, and how deep and distant we can now see, it just really makes you realize not just how much there is out there, but just the incredible fragility of the space that we sit on. It's just a really important viewpoint that I think that we can gain from it and just be astounded by the images and the information that you get. So what we strive to do with everything here is we want people to walk away informed, but we want them to be entertained, and we want them to have fun here. We want them to feel connected to this extraordinary space that we have, literally and figuratively.
Well, and this the Rocket Center's mission here, this is what's so great, because the mission, bringing people from all 50 states, 150 plus countries together to imagine what's possible. So I saw that, and I was sitting under my own stars last night, Pat. I live out in the woods and looking up, and I was really hit with the idea, knowing we were going to be talking to you today, that no matter the turmoil on Earth, space reminds us of unity. Looking up reminds us we're all under one roof, so to speak. And I'm curious, what is it to you that you have found in your job, both your own inspiration and seeing other people come through there? What is it about looking up at the sky that really pulls people together instead of apart?
Oh, it's so true. When we all focus on our commonalities instead of our differences, I think we find so much solid ground. And, the astronauts who go up and they look down from Earth, it's actually a term. It's called the overview effect. And when they look down on our planet, they see no lines. They see no division. They just see one big, beautiful space that belongs to all of us. And I think that that's a very powerful message, particularly today when I know all of us are very aware of some of the challenges that we're facing in the world today, is to realize this is our place in space, as we call it in one of our shows, and it's really up to us to all find a way to come together as best we can, even sometimes during the most challenging of times.
Really quickly, I want to thank you also, Pat, for making time on this particular day and this particular week, because I don't know if you're aware, it's National Truck Driver Appreciation Week this week. And to have your presence here, and a lot of our listeners know this, the importance of trucking and transportation for the space program, for moving.
Huge.
I mean, it's just massive. And for you to make time this week for these men and women who are out there driving on the roads, we can't thank you enough, because the history of space transportation is the history of the trucks that actually brought the equipment and the pieces to be assembled in faraway places to be brought all together under one roof, right?
Absolutely. The heavy transport vehicles that had to have been used to transport the engine sections and the fuselage sections, that they go from where they're being built. They're put on barges, but they have to get to the barges. And so just the instrumentation and the skill level that it takes to properly develop and then deliver these multi-billion-dollar assets are such an important and incredible part of the program that maybe doesn't get looked at and appreciated as much as it should, because without that, we wouldn't go anywhere.
Okay, so Space Camp, you've got a 40-plus year history, a million alumni. I'm curious, first of all, I want to know, well, two things. First of all, what's going to happen when I come, besides it's going to change my life and I'm going to want to become an astronaut. But when somebody listening that's going to plan their day around it, what does that look like when we show up? What's kind of the way to do this appropriately, both just visiting the Rocket Center and or Space Camp?
Well, if you have just a little time, you can come and just stand under the Saturn V and just be in awe and go to the planetarium and have an incredible experience and have it be a day trip. But if you want to come back and spend some time, our Space Camp for Adults is a weekend-long program, so it's perfect. It's a Friday through Sunday experience, and so you can be immersed, but in a convenient kind of level. But we also have, once a year, we have a week-long program for those who are really hardcore and really want to get completely involved, and that is something we offer once a year for adults. But we have weekend programs throughout the year, and something else we offer, which is something that people really enjoy, is our family program. And so you can bring a child as young as 7 to family camp and experience it together that way, through the eyes of a child, while also having your own experience. So we have a lot of people who bring their nieces and nephews, or they come as a whole family, and they have that experience together, which is an amazing way. Sometimes it's to introduce a child to the idea of coming back by himself or herself, and sometimes, a lot of times, maybe it's the adults who want to check it out and bring the kids to also have the experience with them. We are seeing a lot of alumni who came as children who are bringing their own children back now as part of that family program. So it's just, we have many different points of entry to be able to experience this. And something else we do is we do team training for companies. So we use a lot of the same concepts of space exploration, the teamwork, the problem solving, critical thinking skills that are needed for that, we use to train even corporations and people who are working in teams. So we have lots of different ways to experience the wonder of space exploration here at the Rocket Center.
Jim, it sounds like company Christmas party at the Rocket Center. I'm just saying.
It really does, by the way, and it just shows the kind of work that has to go into kind of making a place like this work, because it has so many different programs, and I'm kind of curious from your own standpoint how you manage to create a core of what you guys have to inform people about, while at the same time making sure there literally is something for everyone and not diluting that core. Do you follow my question there, Pat?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's one of our biggest challenges in staying current, making sure that when someone walks in the door that they're getting the most recent and up-to-date information about what is happening today, not just the history. I mean, we don't ever want to be a static space where you've seen the same thing the last time you came. We want to always be advancing and trying to make, and a space like we have people who come who are interested at just a kind of a high level. Yeah, and then we have some people who have a little more time and really want to do more of a deeper exploration. And then we have those who are going to come in and read every single thing and walk in and say, I needed 3 days. And so we try to make it as accessible to everyone as we can. There's some complicated information here, but we also have some fun things to do too, so that it really is a place where we try to meet all needs and expectations. We have a lot of kids activities, hands-on spaces for children to imagine and to build, and engineering labs and things like that for them, just to get the hands-on kind of experience that you never know when you're going to light that light bulb.
Or how it's gonna change your life, or what it's gonna inspire you to do. I have one daughter. She'll be 7 in November. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels like we're not doing a birthday party. I don't need the 20 kids from her class at my house. I'm telling you what, I'm taking my daughter to space camp instead.
You go.
Because who knows? I mean, but in all seriousness, who knows what it could inspire both for her or me? And to that point, like, how many current NASA astronauts came through space camp? Is that a thing? Do you have? I mean, I know.
Oh yeah,
it is, right?
There's one on the International Space Station right now, as a matter of fact. And so, and the Artemis 2 program that is launched, that'll be taking place in 2026. It's going to go back to the moon. They're going to orbit the moon. It's going to be the first time since 1972 that we've been back to the moon. One of those astronauts that will be aboard that spacecraft came 5 times when she was a child. So yes, we have a lot of great, incredible success stories of people who got their start really at space camp. They may have already had an interest, but they came here and they found, first of all, they found the tools that they needed to go back to the classroom and say, okay, this is why I'm studying this. Remember in school we were like, why am I studying this? When am I ever going to use this? Well, this shows them there are really solid reasons to study some of those things. But really importantly is they find other kids like themselves, kids who have the same kind of interests that may not be the things that other kids at their schools love and are excited about. If just because you can name all the planets in the solar system when you're 7 doesn't mean your classmates can. And so you come here and you find other kids who have the same level of fascination that you do, and that is incredibly empowering.
Jim, do you remember? I said, Pat, you're gonna think I'm the biggest idiot if you don't already. But do you? There's like an acronym for all the planets. It's like it's a word that makes up the planets, that all of them in a line. Anyway, and I was out hiking with my daughter and another family and their little kids, and we were talking about this because their 9-year-old was learning that in class, and she said them all, and we couldn't figure out. We could not. She was like, P, and we're like, okay, that's Pluto. S, that's Saturn. Jupiter, obviously. Pat, we could not remember. Myself and my friend Doug could not, for the life of us, figure out what the E was. I said it out loud. I said what I said. And the next morning I woke up and he goes, my daughter walked in my room this morning and looked at me and said, it's Earth, Dad. You're so dumb. And I'm like, oh my God. How did we completely not figure out Earth? So
forget the one we're all looking up. And
I know.
Standing on.
Too close. So clearly I need to go to space camp is what I'm trying to tell you, Jim.
Yeah. By the way, we count. We count, right, Pat? We actually count as part of that whole great network,
Absolutely.
I want to get you back on at some point. I know you're incredibly busy, but I'm going to manifest something here. I think that Lindsay and I at some point should find a way to kind of do a show out there. We would love to.
Absolutely.
And
Oh
we
my
would love to do
gosh.
that. We're out of time here this morning. And by the way, if you could have seen the face of both our producer, Phone Master Dre, and Lindsay during this whole thing, I actually got a preview of what they looked like when they were 11. I kid you not. They both have been like, what? Really? Unbelievable. I mean, how anybody could have not been a part of this conversation listening this morning and not been completely hooked in on what Pat is offering you guys. Go ahead, Dre, do it.
To infinity and beyond!
Yeah, I mean, everybody here is really stoked about the prospects and possibilities. Pat, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
Go have the best of weeks. And thank you on this very important week to so many truck drivers for making time for them. Thank you so much.
We hope to see you all.
RocketCenter.com. Head over to RocketCenter.com, or more importantly, RocketCenter.com/SpaceCamp. We are going. Love you, Pat. And again, Jim, the best part of this whole conversation is reminding us we are all under, what's that song for Five Will Goes West? Somewhere out there. That's what I'm thinking about this whole time. We're all under one sky. Can't we all just get along at Space Camp, Jim?
The brainchild of Edward O. Buckby, the first director of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and rocket scientist Werner von Braun, who, by the way, led the development of the Apollo-era rockets. Space Camp is alive and well and has students of all ages who are looking for the next great adventure. What a great way to end this Wednesday on National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. And by the way, man, if you've ever seen truck drivers back in the day with those big giant space shuttles on the back of those flatbeds, wow. I mean, remember they used to have those big, they'd make their way down the road and people would like the Pope Mobile, people would gather on the side of the road just to see the space shuttles coming. And trucks made all that
Space
happen.
shuttles coming. Look busy.
Look-
Is that a space shuttle in your truck, or are you just happy to see me?
Oh, I'm ready to launch your rocket, baby. I'm ready to launch